that if we nab somebody, we have some sort of obligation to treat them as though they got arrested for DWI. And I worry about this. I just worry that, the Attorney General can't give the circumstances into which he's making his decision. I can't believe the president's not in on this. I don't believe Holder made this decision by himself. It's too important. There's no way Obama's not involved in this. And maybe he's out there taking the fire to shield the president. That could be the case. I don't know. Next up, Lindsay Graham, who's a Republican from South Carolina, who I disagree with on a lot of issues. And he voted to confirm Mr. Holder. I don't know how any Republican could have done that. But Lindsey Graham and Eric Holder have this first clip on where Graham asks if he can think of a case where a terrorist has been tried in civilian court. Watch Holder's reaction. Roll the tape.
Can you give me a case in United States history where a enemy combatant caught on a battlefield was tried in civilian court?
I don't know. I'd have to look at that. I think that, the determination I've made...
We're making history here, Mr. Attorney General. I'll answer it for you. The answer is no.
Yeah, Senator Graham with a little educating. Now, one of the things that Senator Graham next touches on is the precedent that this sets. Because one thing that can happen now is if we try these people in civilian courts instead of military courts, people have different rights. The rules of evidence are different. In a civilian court, you've got the right to confront your accusers, the right to keep your mouth shut, the right to get a lawyer. You don't have that out on the battlefield. And it's a legitimate point to raise. You don't. So Senator Graham in this next clip, tries to get at what would happen if we catch bin Laden. Will he be tried in a civilian court or a military court? Now listen to this exchange. You tell me if Attorney General Holder's answer inspires any confidence. Roll the tape.
If bin Laden were caught tomorrow, would it be the position of this administration that he would be brought to justice?
He would certainly be brought to justice, absolutely.
Where would you try him?
Well, we'd go through our protocol, and we'd make the determination about where he should appropriately be tried.
Would you try him? Why would you take him someplace different than KSM?
Well, that might be the case. I don't know. I'm not. I'd have to look at all of the evidence, all of the.
Well,
he's been indicted. He's been indicted already.
Does it matter if you use the law enforcement theory or the enemy combatant theory in terms of how the case would be handled?
Well, I mean, bin Laden's an interesting case in that he's already been indicted in federal court. We have cases against him.
Right. Well, where would you put him?
It would depend on how.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, let me ask you this. Let's say we capture him tomorrow. When does custodial interrogation begin in his case? If we captured bin Laden tomorrow, would he be entitled to Miranda warnings at the moment of capture?
Again, I'm not. That all depends. I mean,
well, it does not depend. If you're going to prosecute anybody in civilian court, our law is clear that the moment custodial interrogation occurs, the defendant, the criminal defendant, is entitled to a lawyer and to be informed of their right to remain silent. The big problem I have is that you're criminalizing the war. That if we caught bin Laden tomorrow, we have mixed theories and we couldn't turn him over to the CIA, the FBI, or military intelligence for an interrogation on the battlefield, because now we're saying that he is subject to criminal court in the United States, and you're confusing the people fighting this war. What would you tell the military commander who captured him? Would you tell him you must read him his rights and give him a lawyer? And if you didn't tell him that, would you jeopardize the prosecution in a federal court?
We have captured thousands of people on the battlefield, only a few of which have actually been given their Miranda warnings. With regard to bin Laden and the desire or the need for statements from him, the case against him at this point is so overwhelming.
Mr. Attorney General, the only point I'm making, that if we're going to use federal court as a disposition for terrorists, you take everything that comes with being in federal court.
Okay, once again, if bin Laden's caught, what do we do? I don't know. I don't know is the answer. I mean, this is serious business, folks.